for this electronic meeting. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Google Hangouts, and instructions are provided on the town website at rollinsford.nh.us. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call
917-226-0027
or email the Rollinsford Library at comcast.net. Adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled to another time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting with a roll call of attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required by the right to know law. Okay, here we go. Roll
There's
call.
Someone.
Hi, this is.
I'm Tamara Nijakowski. I am present, and Patrick Hayden is making dinner in the background of my kitchen.
Hi,
Emily
this
Court.
is Lorraine Hanson. Oh, okay.
Lorraine, is anyone with you, Lorraine?
No. My husband's
Okay.
somewhere in the house, but I don't know where.
Okay, that's probably a good thing.
This is Ben Thayer. I am alone, I think.
Yes, I'm alone in my room. Everyone's downstairs.
And this is Sarah McLaughlin, the, what am I anymore? Rollinsford Library Director. And I am alone in the room, although my family's here in and out.
And although I would probably need this reminder more than anyone, the meeting is being video recorded and will live on the town website in perpetuity. So just be aware that we are being video recorded. We have accessibility to the public. I didn't know if anyone would join us tonight or not, but apparently nobody has signed on yet, but people will be able to watch it afterward. I wanted to thank you guys for agreeing to meet. It's been a little while since we have. Sarah, I shot you a couple of items today for an agenda. I'm going to go kind of through whatever I sent you, but if you have anything that you want to start off with or anything that you'd like to lead with and get us a little updated about what's been going on, that would be really great.
Okay, so did everybody get the agenda that I sent? That I emailed?
Got
Yes,
it.
I'm gonna ask. Okay, so basically, I was just gonna give you a brief update with what's going on with the library. And as per the governor's stay-at-home order, you know, the library has been closed. I've been going in periodically, checking the messages and responding to people's emails. I have not gotten a lot of calls or emails. I've also been just going into our circulation software and making sure everybody's books the due dates are extended so people aren't getting annoying emails saying their books are overdue, because we're not allowing anybody to return materials. And what we're doing is pretty much what every other library in the state is doing. They do not want us to do curbside pickup. They do not want us to do deliveries. It's stay at home. So my employees are also at home. As we discussed at our last meeting, we are still paying them. And that's about it. I mean, Tamara's been doing an amazing job with the Facebook posts, and I've been trying to update the website if anything comes up with any resources or information. But, you know, like a lot of other businesses and libraries and everything, I mean, we're just sort of in this like holding pattern right now. Does anybody have any questions about the library, like what's going on?
I have some questions about what the public response has been. Has it been mainly positive, or people sharing that they're upset the library's closed? I imagine that most people are understandable in the current
I mean, I have not,
situation?
I've not heard one, I haven't really heard any feedback. I don't, Tamara, have you, and I look at the Facebook posts, or,
Mhm.
I get a few messages here and there on Facebook, asking, about this or that thing and, when are you going to open? But nobody has said a word of complaint that I've heard in any way that they'd be communicating with us. Obviously, Sarah would be checking the answering machine in the library if anyone was calling. I'm manning the social media. I've been trying to post 3 or 4 times a week, different kinds of cultural things that are available to people on the Facebook page. Certain things get a huge response, other things not as much, but people are commenting underneath and liking. We've put a couple pictures up that have been, us doing different things. Like there was one where we all picked a book that we liked or something, and people sort of really liked that. I've put a lot of authors reading stories. There's a drawing class with Dav Pilkey who did Captain Underpants, stuff for kids, stuff for adults. There was a really popular one this last week of they're live streaming Shakespeare's plays out of the Globe Theatre in the UK. And I put a link to that, and there were a lot of people that love that. So just trying to keep it like informative. How is the Overdrive? Can you look at the stats for Overdrive?
yeah, so I pulled up the stats from the day that we closed, 3/16, to today, or to yesterday, and there have been 488 checkouts, which I don't have the numbers in front of me from last year, but I would assume that is up quite a bit. I don't know if any of you are using the Overdrive, but it's really inundated. It's hard. I mean, there are things available. Like you can go on and you can say like what's available now, and there's stuff that isn't like, there's pretty good stuff available, but like anything new or popular, there's a huge wait for. So I mean, I'm happy that we're having so many people use it, but I do know from my own personal experience that it's limited because everybody's using it so much right now.
I did log on to look for a couple things for Megan that she had to read. Like they had to read Scout, and they left off on like chapter 15, and we don't have the book. So how are we supposed to do a reading comprehension? So I went on Overdrive to look for that. They didn't have it, but I found some other things that she could use. So that was helpful.
Yeah. No,
but I noticed that there was a lot of stuff that wasn't available, probably because of the demand.
Yeah.
And is that true across the board, Sarah? That isn't because we're not limited because we're a smaller library. Everyone has the same access.
No, everybody has the same access to everything. It's just people are using it more.
Okay.
Because nobody has access to any library, so.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna hold on approving the minutes. I'm gonna just table that. We're gonna go jump back up on my agenda that I never follow and table the minutes, if that's okay with you, Emily, and we'll add these to them and then look at them both after. Correspondence, was there anything, Sarah?
Not really. Anything that has come up, I pretty much forward to you all. But there's not been really any mail.
Okay.
So.
I have a question, and I apologize if I sent it last minute, but did you see that I flagged that New Hampshire or NHPR segment they were doing on libraries? Did you get to listen, or?
Yeah, I listened to it, but it was not any new information to me because I'm on the listserv every day seeing what people are doing. So it was interesting, and it was a little misleading because there are certain larger libraries that are doing a lot of sort of trying to do these creative programmings. But that is really the minority of libraries in the state. Like there are, I would say, 5 libraries that are really doing the things that she talked about. Like I would say about 5 or 6 libraries are doing that kind of programming. The rest of the libraries are not. they don't have the staff, or they've had to furlough staff, or most libraries are doing pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah,
Good to hear. I didn't get a chance to listen in. I was just curious as to.
well, it's challenging when you see a lot of things online because, a big city like New York Public, Boston, even maybe Manchester, they have the resources and the people and the money to be able to put all that stuff together in a time like this. And, I would say that most of the libraries in New Hampshire are significantly smaller than that and have quite a bit less opportunity or resources or people even to make those things happen. I mean, the New York City Public Library, the stuff has just been amazing that's coming out of there. But, that's a huge, extremely well-funded organization, and I'm grabbing stuff from them all the time. Like that's one of my favorite things to see every day on Facebook is whatever they're doing that week. It's always pretty cool stuff. So,
Cool.
Sarah, did you want to say something about the joint loss update?
Yeah, so I've attended a bunch of town meetings, the town department head meeting and the joint loss meeting. So just, I think the biggest takeaway from there, like a couple of things, we did talk about sort of the impact of the loss of revenue, like what that might mean for our budgets. And then joint loss, there was, discussion of just potentially some like personal protection supplies, it's just interesting to know and keep up to date with like what other town departments are experiencing and how they're dealing with it. I mean, the town hall obviously is completely closed. And, to hear sort of, I guess, what the police department are doing. And so, I mean, it's good. I think it's, again, we're sort of in this sort of holding pattern until these offices can reopen, but it's good, at least we're in contact with the other departments in town. So if we need to share resources, that is, like, I'm in the loop with that. So.
All right, that's good. I want to go down through that list of things that I had asked about. Pretty much the NHLA is doing what we're doing. They're recommending what we do. We're not doing anything that's out of their purview. There shouldn't be anybody doing anything really at the moment. Okay.
No.
And I think that going forward, what I'd like to do is, just keep a really close eye on their recommendations. And, as you know, my business is in dental and everybody's hanging on the word of the CDC or the ADA or the different organizations that are going to come down with what they think is safe. And I think that we should use the NHLA as our guiding star through this, and of course make considerations for our own unique situation. But I think that watching what they're doing and what they're recommending, what they're saying, is probably a really good idea for us. And like Sarah said earlier, she's on the NHLA listserv every day, listening to other librarians and seeing what the state library is saying and recommending. So I'm happy about that, and I hope that everyone else feels in agreement that we're, that's a good place for us to be looking for guidance on what to do going forward. So I'm really comfortable with that, and I don't think we need to go rogue and try to figure out our own thing in this situation. Let's just follow what they're saying, and as they make changes, maybe we all look at those and say, okay, we're comfortable with that, we're not comfortable with that. Because most of what those agencies, even all the way up to the CDC, are doing is they will make recommendations. They're not making requirements. So it's up to the individual people that are in charge of these types of organizations or a place like the library to decide if that works for them or not. So I'm glad that you're keeping an eye on that, Sarah. The hoopla and summer reading programs, I think we can talk about those next. And then if we want to pop in public for a minute or two to talk about personnel, we can do that near the end, right before we adjourn, if that's okay.
Okay.
So one of the things Sarah was looking into, because Overdrive is so challenging for people to use, is a service called Hoopla. And I actually just got an email from a library that I follow in Tewksbury, and I saw it on their Facebook page. They just subscribed to Hoopla. So Sarah, can you explain what Hoopla is and why it might be a good or not be a good idea for us, and what the cost might be and how we would do that?
So Hoopla, I use it in Dover. It's basically it's a digital media service, and it's very much like Overdrive, except it also has it has movies and TV, and it has music. So it has audiobooks, ebooks, plus music, TV, and movies. And it's a little bit different than Overdrive so Overdrive, we pay a flat fee to the state every year. So Hoopla is basically a pay per use service. So every time a patron logs on and borrows something, we pay a fee for it. So, and the fees for the items, and it really depends on what the item is. It goes anywhere from 49 cents to $3.99 per borrow. And their catalog they have like in excess of 750,000 titles. And in my experience, they have a lot newer stuff, and they just have more copies of things. So it's easier to find materials and get them faster without much of a wait on Hoopla. And I spoke with the Hoopla rep to kind of talk about, because in my mind, with the library being closed and people not being able to access, our physical materials, plus Overdrive being sort of inundated, I thought this is a way that we can sort of expand our collection for our patrons. But at the same time, how much is it going to be? So I spoke with him, and he sent me a sort of this thing that I sent everybody. He sent me this sort of sample of what certain libraries serving certain populations, what it costs them per year, and which I thought was really helpful. And so it's interesting because Hoopla, we have roughly 1,200 patrons, but in order to access Hoopla, people have to sign up for it, and not everybody is going to sign up for it. So that's sort of, because I guess my initial worry is everybody's going to jump on there, and all of a sudden we're going to be looking at $10,000. This is really not, So, I mean, if I look at the library Hoopla partners spreadsheet that he sent me, I would say we were more in line with the state, the libraries at sort of the bottom of the list with the smaller populations. And you can see what their spending was for the year. I mean, at the high end, it's $2,000. At the low end, it's below $1,000. Now, if we implement this and we find oh my gosh, people are borrowing so much, we aren't going to be able to afford this, Hoopla, you just contact Hoopla, and there's a couple of ways to rein in your spending. One of the ways, okay, let's go here. So the first thing you can do is you can block certain price points. So you can, and it's really cool because, so let's say we don't think we can afford to lend $3.99 items for people. That's just going to blow the budget. So we block that price point, and patrons just don't see that material. It's not like they see it and they can't get it. They just don't see it. So they don't perceive the sort of rollback. They just don't see the things. There's also, when you initially set it up, you set monthly borrowing limits. So for me as a patron in Dover, I think I can borrow up to 7 items in a month. If we got to the point where this was becoming too expensive, and so let's say we started patrons, they could borrow 6 items. It was too expensive for us. We can rein it back to just borrowing 4 items a month. So that's another way to keep the cost down. And then there's also a monthly budgeting tool. So if we want to say we don't want to spend more than X a month, when it gets to that, they let me know, and then we have a conversation about like what we're gonna do to rein in the cost for that. It's pretty easy to sign up for it. Like initially, all you do is you give them basically $1,000 deposit, and then all of your borrows work against that initial deposit. If we put down $1,000 to do this and we don't end up expending it by the end of 2020, it carries over, and it's a 2-year contract commitment. So we'd have the service at least for 2 years if we signed up for it.
Sarah, when I was thinking about this, let's just say, there's no really viable treatment or vaccine for COVID for, till January or early next spring, let's say a year.
Yeah.
In that time, we're not checking out any physical materials in the library. So
Right.
all the money that we have budgeted to pay for the books that we had $100 and change a month for books, right? What was our
No,
book?
we have 300. We're budgeted $325 a month.
Okay, a month to buy the book, actual
Yeah.
physical hard books.
Yeah.
You suspended all of the subscriptions to physical periodicals.
Well, you can't really suspend them, but I haven't renewed any.
Right.
I haven't renewed any museum passes. It's
Right.
something
Museums are closed.
that's going to be open.
So the point is, we have budgeted for, materials and access to, these places, none of which are going to happen. Can we categorize that as, like materials for people to have access to in a service like this, and have that equate from a budgeting perspective? Like, can we say
Yes.
that?
You can use it. We can use the initial $1,000 from our collection budget.
Okay.
And then if it exceeds like what's left in our line item for collections, you have the authority as the trustees to move money
Right.
into
Right.
that.
We just don't have, my thought is we don't have a category for this really. So, Overdrive is its own category. We have collection development as a category. We had periodicals as a category. We've never had a discussion when we're in a budget season for this as a line item. But I'm just thinking there are multiple things in the budget now that we can't do for people.
No, so you're right. So we could either add Hoopla as a line item and move money from collection into that temporary, like move $1,000 from the collection into this new Hoopla. We did it last year too, when we had to create a couple of line items and add it in. That's not a big deal.
Okay, I'm curious what other people think about this as an idea.
This is Emily. I like the idea. I think if we can give our patrons better access, it will help us. My only concern is, based on our size, will the $1,000 spend, will we use that in that time? I was just looking at the chart you sent. And that looks doable. If there's a community of 3,000, let's say, in Connecticut, and they spent $836 just in 2019, then obviously we could make that work.
Well, if it's a 2-year agreement and we're looking at, about 500 each year.
Each year, right?
And we're in COVID-19, and those statistics are for the previous year when we weren't in COVID-19.
True.
These statistics were for when people weren't trapped at home, not having access to other things, right? So I think that's something to consider as well. I'm just, my thing is, I think that it's a good thing to consider, because I want to be able to keep the library as a positive resource for people in some way. I want to stay on the radar as a positive resource. So
Yeah.
Ben, you want to say, Ben, you lit up. What do you want to say?
Well, no, I'm just you said it. I agree. I think it should be a positive resource. I think it's very low risk. $1,000, 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like the idea that it offers movies as well, because that's one thing that we absolutely cannot give people right now. I mean, Overdrive, we can give them reading materials and audiobooks. I mean, our movie collection, you know, it is what it is, but people still use it. That's something we can't utilize. And with Hoopla, we can offer people movies again.
Yeah. Lorraine?
Yes, I had a quick question, and that is, are we able to look at the catalog to try to find out what kind of things are in which price points? You know, for instance, are movies $3.99 or whatever? Are we able to do that? I haven't seen the catalog.
Yeah, you can look on the catalog, but in general terms, newer items are more expensive. So like newer movies, like the Marvel Avengers movies would be a $3.99 movie. Singing in the Rain would be a 49-cent movie. You know, it really is. The pricing is largely based on like how current and how desirable the items are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm happy to send you the link to the Hoopla site, and you can all look at it and see what they have to offer. And I believe he sent me, he said actually on average, so the average cost per circulation was about $1.96. So, I mean, not everybody is going for the $3.99 items, so it kind of averages out. But yes, I can send you a link so that you can see, you know, what's in each category.
And our understanding now, if we paid $1,000 and for some reason, I don't expect it would happen, it was not spent in the 2 years, do you get back anything? You know, let's say we put in $1,000 and
yeah,
we use
the $1,000 is just a deposit against potential costs. It's not non-refundable if you don't expend all of it.
Oh, okay. So we put it back for some reason. I think we probably would spend it, but I'm just thinking of that.
Yeah, I would think in 2 years we would definitely spend it. But I asked the same question, like, you know, because I was curious as well.
I have 2 questions. One, what's their business model? Like, how do they make money from this? I assume it's on the rights. They more cheaply acquire the rights to these copies. And then my second question is, how are we going to message this to patrons in terms of Overdrive versus Hoopla? Will we be really directing everybody to Hoopla instead? Will we be continuing to do Overdrive?
No, we'll definitely be doing Overdrive. I mean, Dover's offered both for years. It's just so like let's take me for instance as a regular Dover patron. I go on Overdrive and I see I want something, they don't have it. So then I go and check Hoopla, or I want a movie, so I go to Hoopla. I mean, I don't think it's like a competitive thing. I think it's just like another service that we're offering. And as far as their business model goes, they just make a percentage of every borrow.
Well, and some of that stuff that they have in their catalog is probably off copyright too. So they're able to get it for nothing, but they're putting it in an accessible, you know, location. So, you know, all those cool old movies, like where would you go to find them right now? I don't know. Well, let me look on the library, right? I mean, there's so many cool marketing little things that you could do with this, I think. You know, I'd love to see Singing in the Rain, but I don't know how to find it. Well, now I know where I can get it. And that's probably off copyright. So they're making all of that 49 cents. Things that have a high royalty on them still because they're newer, they're making less. But I'm sure that's their business model.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you sign up? How do we, it says here that you use your library card. So how would we?
So what happens is that once Hoopla like sets us up, it's just like Overdrive. You go in, you create an account. Well, it's not the same, but you go in, you create a username and a password, and it works with our circulation software, so it like authenticates through that. So,
and once we
Cool.
get it, if we do decide to do this, once we get it going, they have some good, I know on the other library that just signed up for it, they have really good, like their own like tutorial about how to use it. We could make a video about how to use it, or I'll make a video of how to do it. Like we can.
Yeah. They also offer tons of promotional materials for libraries to use to promote the service.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think like not every one of our patrons will sign up to use this, and that's what ultimately, and in some ways, will keep the cost down. People with kids, this is like a great service for people with kids. You know, older patrons, they might not be so interested in streaming movies or stuff like that. So and people aren't automatically signed up for it. You actually have to physically go and create an account and sign up for it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what we'd get is a lot of people who don't have their library card anymore, and they'd be calling wanting their library card number, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean that's the majority of the.
They're all like, "Oh, it's on the computer. I don't know."
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, do we want to sit on this for a while? Do we want to go ahead and have a vote on whether or not we want to have a crack at it? I mean, I'm in favor of doing it, but I would ask somebody to make a motion that we either sit on it or that we decide that we want to go ahead and give the trial run for $1,000 and have Sarah sign up. And as soon as it's ready to go, we can start advertising it. So if someone wants to make some kind of motion regarding the service, I would entertain that.
Yeah, I would move that we give it a trial run. I think we should do it immediately.
Okay, second.
That's
Seconded.
my motion.
Okay.
Seconded. Should we amend the motion to include the redirection of the funds in the budget? Do we need to be that specific in our motion?
Well, why don't we make a motion to do it, and then we can make a separate motion about how we want to like address the budget.
Okay.
So everybody in favor, we need to take a roll call vote. So Emily?
Yep. In favor.
Okay, Tamara's in favor. Ben?
In favor.
Sarah? Oh, you can't vote. All right.
I'm in favor though.
Okay, so we're all in favor. Passes unanimously.
Did Lorraine voice her yay?
Yeah.
I don't have to vote. I'm only an alternate. You're all sitting here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So let's do that, and then I would entertain a motion regarding the addition of a line on the budget to accommodate this, and we can move money from our current collection development line that is not going to be utilized for hard copy materials during COVID. So if somebody can make that motion.
In addition to development line item, we could also move from periodicals or museum passes.
Yeah. So you want to make that
And
motion?
direct that. Yep.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we add a line item to the budget for this $1,000 for the Hoopla subscription cost.
Can I
And
just interject? I'm sorry. I would not specify $1,000 in case it's more. I would just add a line item for Hoopla, and funds from collection, museum passes, and magazines will be transferred.
Yeah.
Transfer necessary funds from collection, development, periodicals for other areas.
Yeah. Second.
Okay.
I second the motion.
And a roll call vote for that. I say aye. Tamara?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Yeah. Ben?
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. So Sarah, if you can, contact your representative from the company and get it set up, and then once
I will get that going. He said it's about a week lead time to get it active. So
okay. And once it gets going, I will review all of the marketing materials and start looking at some ways that we can, advertise and promote. I can certainly do our Facebook page, but then also all those town pages that have so many followers. That one, New Hampshire Happenings, has like 1,400 people on it now. So we'll just make sure that we get all that information out, as many people as we can in social. Maybe we want to do an email blast from the library to all of the, can we email blast through our patron software?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would do like a newsletter kind of
Okay.
mailing through MailChimp about Hoopla.
Okay. Perfect. So that we'll plan a marketing strategy over the next 2 weeks to get it very well publicized and out there. And then, we can we can feature something from it on the Facebook page every week if we want, because people will then be able to know about it that way. And then we'll figure out the library card thing, because a lot of people are going to be wanting to know what their library card number is.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they can contact me. I mean, I checked the email multiple times all day. So, and I had a couple of people, I actually signed them up for cards through email.
Oh, perfect.
So if people are residents of town and can't get the library, they can sign up. I can, arrange to have them get a card through that. So.
All right, that's great. Okay, and then the one other thing that we had discussed was the possibility of a summer reading program online, doing something digital for the kids this summer. Sarah actually just found out today herself that her son's beloved summer camp of many years has been canceled. I think summer rec for Rollinsford was canceled several weeks ago.
Like a month.
Yeah, most of the activities that people are going to do are going to be shut down. So maybe we can come up with something. Is NHLA giving any kind of?
There's a manual that has gone out reimagining the summer reading program. So there is like a resource guide. People are starting to talk about what they're going to do. Dover, of course, has already signed up for this, I assume, very expensive software that it's doing for summer reading. And I do have an email out to that company to see what the pricing is for that.
Okay.
I have a feeling it's going to be, it may be out of our price range.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are starting to talk about, what they want to do and come up with ideas. I mean, initially, I think depending on if people can come into the library at all or not, like I sort of have some ideas like what that looks like. If they can at all, what that looks like. I mean, I'm just sort of putting it together in my head and trying to sort of wrap my head around it. But it's definitely a topic that we're all of us in the library community are thinking about and starting to address, because I think that we all thought initially like, oh, we'll be back in our libraries by then. And that's maybe not the case.
Yeah. So I'd like to shoot for, if we were going to put a program on, that we would have something ready to go by June 15th. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have a suggestion, and that is, actually I have two things. First of all, Stephanie, as you know, is a poet who's on Friends, and she wanted to see about whether or not we could perhaps have our own kids writing contest, like she's judging for the NHPBS contest. That contest right now is going on, and it ends, I think, this month, sometime at the end of the month. But she is willing to set up a contest for kids, either writing poetry or short stories, and is willing to try to come up with rubrics for judging, et cetera, et cetera. She's been a judge on this herself for the NHPBS one for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. So that's a suggestion.
That's a great idea.
And if the library would, like to work with her or work with she's happy to do it. And she did have one other question, and that was whether or not the library would put on their website about the NHPBS contest, or, just to let people know about it, for the kids. I sent everybody an email with the web address or whatever it is for the NHPBS contest. But as I say, she's really willing to do one just for Rollinsford. And I think that would be kind of fun for kids.
Do you think that she could put together sort of like an email and just kind of describing like what she's thinking about, kind of like describing the program that she has in mind for the writing contest?
Absolutely. I'm sure she'd be happy to. As I say, she's been doing this and judging it for some time, and she'd be excited about doing something for our library to try to do something like this, whether it's, whether they send in stuff, whether it be by mail or online or whatever. She's willing to do whatever works. And she'd even be willing for those who can't be online to do it vis-a-vis by mail, and would get a post box to do it, to receive the mail if you were concerned about receiving mail from people for some reason.
The library has a post office box, so we'll be all set with that.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I will have her put something together and get in touch with Sarah and the trustees to find out, to outline what her thoughts are, if that would be okay.
That's a great idea. And if you sent the information for this PBS one, I will make sure that it gets on Facebook tonight, and Sarah can look at adding it to the website too.
Oh, terrific.
I don't know what the deadline for it is, but we can at least get it on Facebook. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, that's great. Well, I thank you so much. That would be good. I'll let S know, because she's excited about doing this, if she can.
Yeah, usually, Sarah and I kind of brainstorm about what to do for summer reading and talk about it and kind of put something together. And, I think we'll probably do something similar, just because meeting is so awkward to do this, but maybe we can put together a draft of something and share it with everybody early next month, like maybe the first week, and then everybody could have their eyes on it and see what they think, and get it ready to run for June 15th. So if everybody's good with that and they don't mind that, that's probably what we'll do. We've done that every year now for the last couple of years. Is that okay?
I think it's a great idea. You did it the last few years, as you say. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and we can incorporate S's writing competition into it as well. Sounds good. All right, other items on the agenda. How do we go non-public, Sarah? Do you know how to do that?
I think I just stopped recording.
Okay, well, let's make a motion. Somebody needs to make a motion that we go into non-public to discuss a personnel matter.
I make a motion. This is Emily Quirk. I make a motion that we enter non-public session to discuss a personnel matter. It is 6:47.
I second the motion. Has it been fair?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
I second the motion. Sorry.
All in favor of coming back into public recorded meeting, say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay. The last little bit of our agenda here is any new business that people would like to bring in front of the board. No?
No.
I think so.
Okay. So Sarah's going to go, I'll just give the summary then of what we are going to do. Sarah's going to work on getting the Hoopla thing set up, and then let us all know when it's set up and we can start advertising that. We will begin to put together a plan for summer reading program that we could potentially do primarily online, and reach out to Stephanie about potentially a writing competition in town, which I think is a great idea. We'll promote her current competition that she's judging for PBS as well. And I think we should, potentially have another meeting in a month so that we could just review that summer reading program, if you guys are okay with that.
Sure.
That's okay? All right, perfect. Emily, if you could send us the minutes from our previous actual real life meeting and this digital meeting at the same time, we can review those, and we would be able to approve both of those sets of minutes at our next meeting. Should we set a date that first week in June for that next meeting, so that I can show what a super responsible chair of the board I am?
Yes.
Okay, so we are meeting on the Tuesday. What's today? Wednesday.
Right.
Wednesday's better for you, Sarah, because of planning board?
The first Tuesday is planning board. That's really the only thing.
All right, let's meet. Would Wednesday, June 3rd work for everybody at the same time?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah,
let's say
yeah.
Wednesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. and we will do the same thing with the Google Doodle here, and do the same. Okay,
Putting it in the calendar now.
excellent. And I will have Caroline send the invitation and do the posting for the meeting.
I think we can reuse this actually.
Reuse what? Oh, the same link?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Um,
Very
the
cool.
link for some of my other meetings, or you just
So-
use it over and over again.
Even though it's really weird and like awkward, it is still really, really good to see people's faces that you miss. And I thought about going down to the library so that my background would be the library, but I just couldn't get myself together and get my butt out the door, which is like my life story right now. So next time I'm going to be in the library. But I have thought, what if I go to the library and Sarah's there? And then I teared up a little bit. I was like, well, if I see Sarah, I'm going to want to hug her, and I'm not even
I
going
know.
to drive away, and I won't be able to do it. So here I am in my kitchen cubby hole under the stairs that looks like I live in Harry Potter's bedroom. So anyway, thank you all so much. I'm psyched that we were able to do this, and let's just stay the course and keep it going. And please stay safe and be healthy. And I hope to see you soon. Motion to adjourn from somebody.
I'd make a motion to adjourn. It is, what time is it? 6:57.
Great.
Ooh, you're a minute ahead of me.
Well, just turned as I was saying that, actually.
Emily,
Seconded.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right,
Awesome.
thank you.
Guys. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.